A lovely night, isn't it? It's starting to get into winter. That oh so familiar, crisp feeling in the air, the one that tinges the sides of your lungs, threatening to burn if you breathe deep enough. It is so invigorating. Even after death, it still tickles a primordial part of me. Are you going to invite me in? It seems only fair. After all, I do own the place. You are too kind. What am I doing here? Sometimes I forget why I picked you, and then you go ahead and say something as outlandish as that, and then I remember. You're my kick. My something new. Did you enjoy tonight? Your traipse about the city? I should certainly hope so. It's cost me a pretty penny. As have your other escapades over the last few months. Do you remember when I plucked you from Vasquez's stockroom, his dungeon? We made a deal. You would come with me, and you would get to live a life of luxury, of decadence. You would get to travel wherever your little heart desires. You would eat the finest foods, drink the finest wines, wear the finest garments. And so far, you have very much made the most of that fact, of those terms. In the last few weeks alone, you've been to Prague, Berlin, Krakow, Venice, Paris, Malta. Hell, just last night you were sipping wine in the old town of Florence. A beautiful place, might I add. Those walls are centuries old, and yet still just as breathtaking as when they were first made. I should know. I was there. And yet, despite being so much older than that wall, that pillar of bricks and mortar, I still find myself so encaptivated by it, so in awe. And in the 700 years since they were built, those walls, in spite of my best efforts, still happen to be my favourite place to sit and have a glass of wine, and then another. Speaking of, I do so hope you haven't exhausted my liquor cabinet in my little humble abode here. My home, away from home, away from home. You know, I was awfully surprised to hear that your little jaunt around the world, seeing all of these beautiful places, these historic cities and towering landmarks, was to end here, of all places. New York City. The Big Apple. The concrete jungle where dreams are made of, as the scholars and free thinkers Alicia Keys and Jay-Z once not so wisely said. Honestly, I have to question your taste, my dear. To think you come from such historic beauty, such marvels of their time, to this. Has your imagination truly exhausted itself? A pity. I enjoyed following your little saga, your adventure. You humans always talk of such grand plans of what you would do if you had limitless wealth, but to find out that you've reached the end of that train of thought in just a matter of weeks is disappointing. You disappoint me, my dear, in more ways than one. Which very aptly brings me on to why I'm here. But I do so detest dramatics and tense situations. Please, can I offer you a drink? Suit yourself. Well, I'm going to have one. Just because we vampires do not gain any nutrition from food or drink does not mean that we cannot partake. Besides, I've found that it keeps me more placatable this way, less prone to sudden outbursts. Here's to your health, my dear. Long may you have it. Chivas Regal Royal Salute 21 gun whiskey. Did you know that whiskey is somewhat a passion of mine? Yes, I reckon I've sampled every whiskey from every distillery in every country across the globe. From the cheapest of hodgepodge blends to the most expensive and illustrious of single malts. And do you know what I discovered, my dear? I discovered that sometimes the best whiskies aren't the most expensive ones. They aren't even single malts. True excellence is set apart from heritage, from rearing, from one's situation in life. It is not nature that makes excellence, but nurture. A lump of coal cannot become a diamond purely because it resides in high-quality earth. No, it must be pressurized, it must undergo trials and tribulations, it must be tested. Only through these trials can a diamond be formed. I thought of yourself as that diamond, my dear, for a long time. Your struggles, your pressures, have made you the rarity that you are now. And I have so enjoyed our time together. When I brought you back to my castle, listening to your stories, your struggles, your spirit, and the blood, it was as if I were drinking liquid gold. And I still remember your first few weeks you spent with me. You were too scared to stray more than a couple of miles from the castle walls, and the second you heard my call in the night air, my voice in your ear, you would come clambering, sprinting back to me, throwing yourself at my feet, ready for me to feast. And I admit I am not faultless in this predicament that we found ourselves in, for it was I that pushed you to explore, to indulge in your side of the deal, to travel and enjoy yourself. And enjoy yourself you have. You have eaten well. You have drank aplenty. But you have forgotten yourself, my dear. You have forgotten your station. You see, whilst I've mentioned what you got from our little deal or arrangement, I did not mention what I was to get in turn. You see, as most deals often are, our particular one was set to be mutually beneficial. And whilst you have certainly profited, I find myself standing with a rather empty bowl. Do you remember the terms of our deal, my dear? I would save you from your fate of being a slave to some lesser being, some 3rd generation, 4th generation, 16th generation vampire swine. I would allow you to live a life of luxury, a life which you have lived, are living, and will live for many more years to come. And in return, when I call on you for blood, you come, veins a-bare. I called upon you. You didn't answer. And at first I was ablaze with rage. I was seething with a hatred that I reserve only for those who have betrayed my trust. And I can assure you that you will never meet another who has, because they don't often live to tell the tale. And those that do will never be found by another living soul as long as this earth still turns. But then I began to think in a different light. I asked myself, why did you ignore my summons? Where would anyone, let alone a mere mortal, find the gall to defy an eternal custodian, a vampire lord? And then it hit me. Vasquez was right on the money again. You are exactly what I needed. My kick. You shook me out of my monotony. You dragged me from my tower and brought me all the way here to New York City for the first time in over 100 years. The last time I was here, I was watching over a young NYPD officer, one Joseph Petrosino. Oh wow, he must have joined the NYPD back in 1883, I'd estimate. Italian-born Giuseppe, we stood at a meagre 5'3", but somehow managed to gain a waiver from the department's minimum height requirement. At the time I was particularly close with one Theodore Roosevelt, and he was all too happy to turn a blind eye. After all, the bull moose was nothing if not pragmatic, and I assured him that young Giuseppe could get the job done. And get the job done he did. You see, young Petrosino was well known for his escapades with the Black Hand gang. He beat them into submission at every turn, known to be almost invincible, almost godlike. He really was the most interesting man I ever had. Come now. You don't think that you were the first person I offered a little arrangement to, do you? I admit the terms may have been slightly different, but the underlying contract was very much the same. Joseph would remain here in New York City, close to yours truly, who at the time was occupying this lovely little abode in which you now stand. And in return, I would make Mr. Petrosino the most distinguished cop in this city. A lifetime of prosperity, of honour and integrity, of putting the bad guys away and being known as the invincible right hand of justice. And all he had to do was stand by me. But of course, Joseph's mission would become his obsession, and he would make plans to leave for Sicily. That broke the terms, you see, and I was a much angrier man back then. When Joseph arrived in Rome, he said he was being followed by a man that he knew from New York. He knew better than to implicate me by name. He thought it would save him. He was wrong. So you see, my dear, there is a real, tangible exit clause when you break our little contract. One which can only be paid one way. And I find myself in a very peculiar situation where I find that you have actually pushed the envelope of what is acceptable further than any other who I have ever offered this deal to before. By all rights, you should be dead twice over. And yet here you stand, still drawing breath. And the reason why has eluded me as much as it probably eludes you now. But standing before you now, looking into your eyes, it's so painfully clear to me. I understand now. You test me, you vex me, you intrigue me in a way that I have not been intrigued in centuries. I love the fact that you think that despite your inferior being, that you can somehow spite me, that you can win. You think you have free will and that you can defy me, and I love it. Your resistance, your passion, your fire, your kick excites me. But on another day I could find it tiresome. So I will warn you once. You can push the boundaries, you can try my patience, you can tiptoe the line. But the second you cross it, this life which you have become so accustomed will end. There are a pair of shackles waiting for you. There is a cold, dark cell in my dungeon calling your name. There are a swarm of rats eagerly waiting to feast upon your pale, necrotic flesh as your body, with barely enough calories to sustain itself, withers and dies. You will serve me, or I will feast upon you like you are a cattle. You will behave, or you will starve, and you will wither, and you will die. Do you understand? Good. My dear, never make me call twice again. Now, get on the bed. I'm hungry.